Hello, I'm Bob Jeffrey here in New York. Welcome to today's edition of World Makers. From film to fashion, tech startups to advertising, this is a city where things get made. And as the song goes, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Today on World Makers, we'll meet some of the visionaries making the future happen right now. Hello, I'm Bob Jeffrey, Worldwide CEO and Chairman of JWT, and welcome to World Makers. Today, I'm sitting down with Lee Woodruff, author, journalist, and co-founder of the Bob Woodruff Foundation. Lee, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So Lee, I've known you for a while, and I was trying to think of if there's one word that describes you, in my estimation, it's fearless.
Oh, I like that. Like a fearless female? Fun, fearless
well,
female?
Well, the fun part as well, but fearless because, I was just thinking about, I just went to a book party for Sheryl Sandberg, and she talks about leaning in.
Right.
And I feel like you've been leaning in a long time, and I think, again, I got to know you because of Bob and what happened to him in Iraq, and I was also thinking about, I just saw him on the news with the 10-year anniversary, and what's so amazing about what the two of you have done, but especially you, is having gone through that. That's why I think of fearless. So I'd be interested to get your perspective now, because it's now several years later, and you've been successful, separate from the foundation that you did with Bob, but you've also successful in your own right as an author and journalist.
Wow, I don't know if I can live up to all of that, but thank you. I mean, I think fearless is a word that, as a woman and an advocate and a wife and mother, I'll take that. I'll wear that mantle. I also have to say, though, that, and I'm the first one to say, that I am, when I look at the spouses of or the family members of so many of our injured vets, they are just, if not more, fearless in what they go through. I mean, because you know Bob and I, but we're such a blessed family when we look at how his injury and his recovery turned out. So I'll take fearless, but I feel a little bit unworthy of that.
Well, I don't think you're unworthy of it, but I think where you've done a remarkable job is, for most people in America, we think about the war and soldiers coming home and end of story, but really the story begins when they come home.
7 years ago, when Bob was injured, it really took a full year for him to heal, or for us to get to a place where we felt like we could take our experience and take the pulpit that we had as two journalists and really talk about it. So that was 6 years ago. And we went out and decided that America wasn't talking about these issues. America didn't know about the numbers of troops coming back with these hidden injuries, the brain injuries, post-traumatic stress, the things that on the outside you look normal, look functioning, but on the inside things are very, very messed up. And so we used our voices to say, hey, America, these guys have stood up to go for you. It's not a political issue. It doesn't matter whether or not you believe in the war. We have to get back. And it's been a lot of work. It's been a real privilege. And feeling like we walk among these families because of our own experience with an injury in the war has really been a privilege.
One of the changes we're obsessed about in our own business, but also media, is the impact of technology and social. And I know just from my own personal interaction with you, you're very active on social. You have a blog, you're on Facebook. In a good way, how do you think that's impacted the ability to raise awareness for the foundation? And also, what do you think about that? I mean, just from a general point of view in terms of what's going on in the culture with that type of technology.
It's phenomenal. I mean, the ability to reach out. In fact, it was JWT that came up with the campaign where we were tweeting for dollars. This is years ago when Twitter first started, and you guys sort of said, let's coalesce this all. Let's try this out. You were on the cutting edge of doing that with us, and we would raise these little baskets of money when we would go out and do something. And of course, what it does is it makes everything democratic. So if you can't sit in the Beacon Theater at our Stand Up for Heroes event with Bruce Springsteen and John Mayer and Jerry Seinfeld, if you can't be there, you can see it on YouTube and then donate on Twitter or whatever. So it's a wonderful way for a foundation to reach out and engage people who might not be there physically.
So speaking of Stand Up for Heroes, I know, as you know, I went there this year and we took a lot of our clients, and I think if I had to do one thing over again, and maybe this is something to think about for next year, I think I see more and more of the brands we work with and the companies we work with, they have a greater desire to be doing what they would call purposeful marketing and more cause-related marketing. Based on your experience with the foundation, what are some of the brands you've worked with that have done a great job with the foundation?
We've worked with brands that have consumer products, so they'll just straight out give a percentage of the product cost to us. But I think one of the best examples is actually JetBlue. So JetBlue is one of our sponsors, and they came up with sort of this ingenious way to help. There's a certain basket of dollars that they have, and that's limited. So they said, why don't we fly all of the service members that you need to get to your events, any place we fly, and let's take care of and pick up the cost of flying your team around when it needs to travel to do things. So they've got that whole travel covered. And then in addition to that, they're talking to us about running PSAs in flight and putting things in the back of seats. And so it becomes a way that you can take whatever it is that your product or service is and make it tie back to helping vets.
Yeah, and I mean, JetBlue's a great brand, but also what's terrific about what they're doing is that they really understand the need for a brand to engage and have the conversation with their consumers. And I think, again, many people nowadays, especially younger ones, they want to know that they're engaged with a brand or buying a brand that is giving back.
And I think JetBlue has that mindset, that image that was created by you guys, says to me, cool, hip, and cares. And I know that as a consumer, just taking my hat off for a second as a journalist, I want to support companies that are doing some good out there. I want my dollar to go somewhere where part of it's giving back.
Well, Lee, it's great catching up, and
so
thanks for the update on the foundation. And thank you for watching the latest edition of World Makers.